Good morning. I'll give you a bit of background of what we are doing and the framework which we've put in UK. The building blocks behind have been already in motion, and we are deploying quite heavily. So, from a headline perspective, we're investing quite a lot. We're investing $4 billion to roll out fiber technology to 66% of UK. So that's 2/3 of UK. It's a major investment, and it's an investment which we are making without government subsidy or any regulatory agreement where we could get some sort of generated return on investment. The deployment is currently at a pace where we are thinking that going forward we'll be reaching all our targets. We've managed to deploy about 5 million so far, and the next target is 10 million by the end of this year. The scale of the deployment involves about 30,000 copper cabinets, 1,000 exchanges, and more than 50,000 kilometers of fiber. Supported obviously by a huge number of engineers from the Openreach division, about 23,000 of them. If you compare the deployment pace which we are doing now in UK, and that's about 80 to 100,000 households per week, we are building the equivalent of the Singaporean network every quarter. The actual pace of deployment is more than double to how some of our rivals are deploying. If you look at Deutsche Telekom, AT&T, and Belgacom, for example. And we are continuing this pace. We are planning to actually step up to come to this 10 million by the end of next year. From a strategic perspective, we are doing a mixed economy approach. What that means? That means that we still have the ADSL, and we are still continuing the deployment of ADSL 2+. Currently, we are at about 67% of the UK having the ADSL 2+, and we are continuing the deployment. By the end of 2012, we're aiming at about 80% of the households having access to ADSL 2+. In parallel, we are doing the fiber investment, both in fiber to the curb, which is the VDSL last mile, and fiber to the home. The rough split is about 25-75, with 75% being the fiber to the curb and 25 fiber to the home, which puts the number to about 4 million fiber to the home connections by the time we finish the rollout. It's interesting that whilst we are doing the rollout, we are also improving the performance of our products. So currently the fiber to the cabinet, which is fiber to the almost the last few hundred meters to the house, we are delivering a 40 meg download and a 15 meg upload service. But by next year we'll be doubling that. We'll be doing 80 meg download service, and this is without actually doing any further investment within the network, just by tweaking a few parameters on the network frequency. Fiber to the premises, we are currently doing 100 meg downstream, 30 meg upstream, but we are testing 1 gig down to the home and about 400 meg upstream. So for us, it's not fiber to the curb or fiber to the home or ADSL 2+. What we are doing all three of them, and we are doing them in an approach which gives us the best return on investment, considering that we get a lot of information about the actual demand from all our communication providers. There's a lot of talk about speeds, fiber to the home, fiber to the curb. Whether it's the guaranteed speeds, whether we could go upwards on the speed. But I just want to say a few words that it's not all about the speed. There are a lot of other factors which are making this work. I think Richard mentioned that a case where because of the price levels, you could not get the business case work. So you need to have this whole ecosystem. Firstly, you need to have sufficient coverage. Telecoms are a volume play, so you need to have the numbers in order for the case to work. The speed is important, but more importantly is the open network. The open network provides a number of service providers to be utilizing the same infrastructure. And within UK currently we've got about 45 communication providers, so 45 operators either testing or using our fiber investment. Obviously, the openness on the network and all this, the actual competitive landscape which they create drives the competitive pricing. The competitive pricing, on the other hand, drives the take-up. But the take-up is also related to the marketing and the trusted brand, because people usually buy products from operators they trust. They trust that the service will be delivered the way it has been marketed. And if we look at the numbers, our main competitor, Virgin Media, even that they have been operating similar product for quite a long time, we have overpassed in terms of the take-up. They're currently to about 100K users. We have more on our Infinity product line. So everything needs to work together in order for the business case to work together. And let's not forget that we are deploying also for the businesses, not only for the consumers. In terms of the setup within UK, we've got multiple levels in terms of how we are selling these products. But from an organizational perspective, the bottom provision of the infrastructure is delivered by BT Openreach. This is the entity which was established back in 2005 to protect the national asset, the last mile. Currently, they are the ones which are deploying the fiber to the home or fiber to the curb, and they are selling it on equivalent basis to all the communication providers, including BT Wholesale and BT Retail. Now, BT Wholesale goes on the top of it and provides a wrap service around the BT Openreach for the communication providers which want to invest less in their network but more into the sales and marketing. What this creates as an ecosystem creates quite a vibrant retail service provider ecosystem, which includes BT Retail, giving customers a lot of choice, a lot of flexibility, a lot of products. And it all works at the moment, and we are aiming to actually introduce more products from a wholesale perspective, which will provide more support for the communication providers. So in a way, we compete. If you're looking at BT Retail, we do compete with these other communication providers. But if you look from a wholesale and an open internet level, we actually enable their business. Looking at the flexibility in terms of how they could engage with us and buy our products, they could participate across the fiber value chain. So this is an example of 4 products which we've got. The first 3 are provided by BT Openreach, where the 4th one is BT Wholesale. Our newest product is the physical infrastructure access. This is renting the ducts or renting the poles. It has been out for a few months now. We had the price benchmarked with European pricing levels. And currently we are running a trial with the communication providers. We are hoping to start the soft launch from the summer period. The next product is the sub-loop unbundling. This is a partial loop unbundling. It's part of the LLU, local loop unbundling product. Enables them to get the last mile access from BT, let's say the copper, and then install the equipment at the PCP, which is the cabinet level. If you go one step across, and now we're moving to active products, the main product is the generic Ethernet access product sold by BT Openreach in 2 variants. It has the fiber to the curb and fiber to the premises variant, and the handover point is usually within the exchange. So for the ones which want to take their customer traffic from the exchange, this is where we are interconnecting, and this is the product which they are buying. And now if we move to towards the top, which is the Wholesale Broadband Connect, this is the product which puts on the top the aggregation in the core network. So like I said before, if your business model is that you want to focus on the marketing and the sales and less on investing actually in the network, we could hand over the traffic from all your customers across the country from 20 core nodes which we have in our network. So these 4 products are quite important because, 3 are within Openreach, 1 within wholesale. And obviously we do want to make money on all the products. And the way they interact between them in terms of how they are regulated is quite important. But what we do tend is to work closely with the regulator to make sure that we enable this to happen in terms of the communication providers having the flexibility and still recover our investment. Thank you. Obviously, from a purely commercial perspective, you could go so far. And once we go above the 66%, we are going to this final third where it's not economically justifiable to deploy. And there we are trying now to do some partnerships with either local or central government funds. 3 examples here within Northern Ireland. We've cooperated with the government. They've got a project where they are aiming to enable 85% of their businesses over superfast broadband, and we've put further investment from our side to help them achieve that. In Cornwall, we are doing a joint investment with the EU fund to enable 90% of the Cornwall on superfast broadband by 2014. There is also a possibility of the licensing fee. These are the TV licensing fee in UK, which will be available. We are bidding to get a proportion of that fund. If that fund is put forward, we could go up to 90% of UK being on superfast broadband. We also did a very interesting marketing initiative called Race to Infinity. Infinity, by the name, is the brand name for superfast broadband by BT Retail. We have opened a website where all the communities were voting whether, for us to measure the demand for superfast broadband. The response was quite interesting. We had about 360,000 votes within 3 months period. About 1 million visits to our website. And quite interesting is that 45% of the voters, they didn't opt out from a marketing purposes. So we got about 165,000 of marketing records. And at the same time, whilst this was happening, we were seeing increase in terms of the pre-registration for our products. It was an interesting concept. At the end, there were 10 winners, 10 neighborhoods, 10 communities which will be getting the superfast broadband. But it provided us a lot of insight in terms of how people think and how communities think about superfast broadband. Last slide, just to mention some of the numbers. We are keeping on our promises, and so far we have been able to deliver on all of the targets which we have set. We are currently at about 5 million, as I mentioned. We've announced 9 million premises. You could go online and see which ones are those. We are trying to balance between deployment in the urban areas and also in the rural. And currently, about 41 market towns announced for this and next year for deployment. The fiber to the premises, the 25% of our investment in terms of the numbers, is something which will be ramping up from next year. Currently, we are doing intensive trials within Milton Keynes and London, and the commercial launch of the services will be from late this year. I've mentioned about the Race to Infinity, very successful marketing campaign. The 45 external service providers, these are very important. It has been ramping up, this number. Currently, we're in 45. UK has about 200 communication providers, so we want to get as many of them on our network to be utilizing our infrastructure. And last but not least is the success of the retail product. Like I said, we've surpassed the Virgin Media numbers. We are currently in about 150,000, equates to about 6,000 new connections per week. So those are some of the numbers which we are delivering at the moment, and like I said, we are aiming to ramp up on the deployment this year, and especially on the fiber to the premises front. Thank you.